Let's talk about that because it's an important subject and people love it. It's sexy, it's hot, it's carbon coming out of smokestacks, and you sequester it. Underground, turn it into cement, what's your take?
Bricks.
Bricks, yeah.
Does clean tech have a better or worse time under a Republican administration? I was just talking to Alan Saltzman of Vantage Point about this.
It's not a Republican administration. It's still a Democratic administration with a split
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, a Republican-controlled House. Do they have a harder or easier time with this?
It's not going to do that much. Policy is still more set by the EPA. If there's any initiatives that are going to pass or need to be renewed in 2010, there might be more difficulty. But I don't think that's the real issue. I think. I mean, clean tech is one of the most serious issues out there, and if you think about it, because if we don't get clean tech right, we're fucked.
Whoa. Okay. Whoa. Hey, that's it.
And so, so right now, right now, like Tesla doing good stuff, but they're not doing all that hot. If you've seen the revenues, and you've seen negative revenues.
What
or whatever
revenues?
The hell. Yeah, exactly. and you see, like you're hoping that one of these, like that Bloom Energy, like I don't know if it's gonna win, but I have so much hope that they succeed because a Bloom box in every home would be a major step towards solving a problem that is much more important than a lot of the problems that we've talked about in this stage so far.
But how much hope can you put towards the R&D, right? I mean, like, and they can't make money off of that, right? I mean, I hope that we stop polluting the oceans and all of that, but I just don't think it's sustainable without government help.
Well, it depends. There is government help, at least, and there's state help. Although I don't know if you really want California helping you.
Sure you do. I mean, you were asking about next year specifically. I'd say it's going to be a much worse year because, you know, even after the election, people I was talking to from the clean tech industry were still saying, well, we think, you know, there'll be bipartisan support for more money for research because we all recognize it's important. I don't think that's going to happen. No. And I think deals like, you know, the $500 billion Solyndra got to build a factory, the money that Tesla got. I mean, none of those things would be here in the Valley without the government chipping in to make it happen. That's just not going to happen next year, maybe some years down the road. But the other problem is that right now, China is massively subsidizing that stuff. And so, I mean, clean tech is such a complicated subject, but on the manufacturing part, we briefly had this dream that gee, maybe this is going to bring manufacturing back to America or Silicon Valley, but I think we've missed that. And I think unless there's massive government support.
Hypocrisy, because how much of the tech industry and how much of the original energy industry, petroleum, had government help? A hell of a lot. Yeah, it was monster. Yeah, they've all been helped along by the government, and they get tax breaks, and they get right.
But it's not about whether they should
putting this out as some kind of government.
It's not about whether they should get government help. The problem is, so if you look at the solar industry, right? The solar industry has succeeded. Like, so where's the biggest solar market in the world? Sunny Germany, right? You know, the vacation capital of the world, right? All those great German beaches. And so, so they have the largest solar industry in the world. What? Why? Because they had a hugely subsidized solar industry, right? And so, and you saw what happened in Spain. Spain was the second largest solar industry in the world. They get sunny there, a little more frequently than Germany. But the real issue was huge government subsidies for solar in Spain. The government went, we can't keep doing this. We're dying. And unfortunately, they didn't realize it fast enough. So they cut the subsidies, and the solar industry in Spain collapsed. And this is the basic problem that you have in some of these green tech industries, is that if you are going to be reliant on government subsidy, whether it's from Germany or Washington or Sacramento, you are running a huge risk that as soon as as soon as budgets get tight, they pull out the rug from you.
Well, you just have to
and so the weight of the weight is on the industry to become become compatible on a unsubsidized basis. I mean, and it's not a matter of what should happen. It's
what if the oil industry had to build its own superhighway system?
Yeah, but we're in the problem is economics. You have state governments and federal governments around the world that just simply can't afford to provide these giant subsidies.
China doesn't.
No, while we're sitting here, and that's it. While we're sitting here arguing this, China is doing it, and by the time we get around to doing it, China will have done it, and then the market is gone.
We have too many incumbents. The problem is our government is subsidizing incumbents. They're subsidizing the future.
No. Yeah, I think so.
So it sounds like that's the story of 2011 then.
Oh.
I mean, how could you call Cylinder, though, and Tesla incumbents?
No, I meant the oil industry.
Oh, well,
Those incumbents.
yeah.
I think just to touch on that, I think the other interesting story is what Google is doing with energy. I mean, they're investing in wind power and clean power. They have license to trade energy, right? I mean, they're really, I think, thinking about this long term and what they're going to do about powering the massive number of data centers that they have.
True. And not just Google. I mean, Cisco with smart grid. I mean, you got a number of tech companies that are trying to, I wouldn't even say dip their toes in this. They're making significant investments. What happens to them in the 2011 environment where austerity becomes the message, maybe even at least from the House? Does that affect tech, big tech? I mean, there's a lot of cash locked up in big tech. They can spend it on whatever they want. Do we continue to see that investment? Does it have a decent year? Can they hold out where the startups might falter, or what happens?
They have to keep spending on infrastructure. They have to keep building data centers. They have to keep, just growing that whole infrastructure everywhere. And that's a lot of energy and it's a lot of cost, but, you have to keep making your product faster and more reliable and, in getting into the cloud, making it available for mobile all the time. So I think, and they have a company like Google has tons of money to build that stuff. So I think they know that, one advantage they have is to continue to make that search experience faster.
Time flies when you're making predictions, and we've come to the point in our program where it's time for your one big prediction for 2011. What's going to be the big story before we move to Q&A? Start at the far end. Eric.
Oh, I have to go first again? Okay. The Giants will not win the World Series. I think one big story in 2011 is going to be a reduction in the number of mobile phone platforms. One or two of the big ones are just going to collapse and go away. I don't know if it's going to be RIM, maybe it's going to be Symbian, but we have like 6 or 7 or 8 mobile platforms. It's way too many. By the end of next year, we'll be down to 3, 4 at the most.
All right, Rachel.
That matter. I mean, the others may still exist, but the ones that matter with substantial market share, 4 or less.
So I've been watching the tech industry go up and down for about 16, 18 years now. And this feels a lot to me like maybe 1996, 2005. I mean, I think we're definitely on the upswing. And I think that all these companies, Apple's got $50 billion, and $25 billion in short-term cash, that all these massive war chests, and I think they're about to spend. And I think we're about to see some huge changes in the tech industry. I think we're about to see jobs come back in a big way. And I think 2011 is going to be, a big year.
Oh, all right.
How's that for a prediction?
That a big M&A prediction? We're getting solid predictions. I like it, Quentin.
I stick my neck out. The return of chat roulette. No, okay, forget that. The return of the super poke. No, okay. That said, I'll pick up on yours. Chinese companies buying American companies. There's a ton of money out there, and it's going to be really controversial. But Baidu or Tencent can start buying American assets.
You're right.
But
and
and
it's going to be freaky when it happens. Huh?
Will the government let them?
That's going to be the war.
How can they say no?
Biden's not going to go jump into the American economy quite yet. Not 2011.
Yeah, not Baidu. Huawei.
Come on, it's Quentin's prediction. You'll have your
There's just a
turn.
ton of money sloshing around in Asia. We have great assets. Dollar's getting cheap. Why not?
China buying, or Chinese companies buying U.S. companies. Bold.
Why
Chris.
not?
No big tech IPOs in 2011.
No big tech IPOs. What do you define as big?
Like the big names everyone's waiting for: Facebook, Zynga, LinkedIn. Wait, which one of those got that?
Access is repping one of those. I just don't know.
They're actually, Access is going public in 2011.
All right.
You're all in a cult.
But the big name that everyone's been praying for like 3 years to get that market starting, it's not going to happen. There might be 1 or 2 little ones, but none of the big kahunas are all running as far away from that as they can, and that'll happen next year.
Okay. Bianca.
AC/DC on iTunes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one we've all been waiting for.
Now that Paul McCartney's given in, yeah. No, I think personalization. I think increasingly, no two people will have the same experience on the web, right? So in our search results, in what our ads, obviously, our news, everything will be customized to our preferences, our habits, our friends, and we're seeing it already. So more and more of that.
I was just gonna.
You're old.
I'm just. Access. Nice job.
That's power.
Prediction. In the war between Facebook and Google, Facebook will win.
Next year.
It'll be very apparent.
As opposed to 2010. That's
not apparent quite yet.
Oh, okay. In advertising? Just in general?
Just in general.
All right. Facebook over Google. Dan?
Yeah, I would follow up on that. I two parts. One is I think this is the year when people start to realize how scary Facebook is. Okay. And
Scary good or scary scary?
Scary. And two, I think this is the year Twitter figures out how to turn on the taps and start making some really serious money. And we actually see that company finally come alive in a financial sense.
So you're coming up against Jim Goldman once again.
Oh, does he? Oh, he said they. He said
last year he said they'd be dead by now, and now you're saying
he's
they're
dead.
going to
He's dead, and you took his job.
No.
I'm just saying, how did that prediction work out for him? You know.
This has just been yet another example for me to have to stand in Jim Goldman's shadow. And
My God, man.
No, and I've been skeptical about Twitter, but I actually do think that somehow, I don't know how, but I think they will figure it out. There's so many people on that system that they will figure out a way to make really serious money with that company. And if this is the year, they'll do it. So.
I have a prediction for the decade, actually, following up on that.
For the decade.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about bold.
Mark Zuckerberg isn't going anywhere. That's my prediction.
What do you mean he's not going
Like
anywhere?
in a bad way or a good
he'll
way?
He'll be CEO for the next decade.
Okay.
That's
He's-
not bold.
he's-
It's idiocy if you bet he's going to leave in the next decade or 2 decades.
Yeah. that's
Or
what made
2
the prediction.
decades.
There's a reason why he controls the board. He's not giving it up.
All right.
But will he wear
I
a
think
black
we're supposed to do
turtleneck?
questions or something.
Yes. And I guess I should make a prediction.
Okay, what's yours?
Yours.
Verizon iPhone. No, just kidding. I predict Facebook will release a product and have a big privacy flap. No, just kidding.
Super
Having
report.
flashbacks.
Now, I predict that systems once again will gain ground on industry standard parts in 2011.
Somebody really likes that.
It wasn't Access, though, I know that.